January 23rd, 2024, and the wrestling news stops for no one because this morning it was announced that Monday Night Raw is moving to Netflix in 2025, and WWE superstar legend Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is being paid $30 million over 2 years to join WWE's parent company, TKO, and join their board of directors. This is Gigantic Pop. I'm Glenn Rubenstein here with Matt Morgan and Raj Giri. Guys, last night we went to bed thinking, it'll be a quiet week leading up to the Rumble. Matt, I want to get your reaction, but Raj, as the insider, any additional news or context you can offer to this story?
Well, a couple things. One thing, if you have a paid Netflix subscription, not the ad tier version, but the premium ones, you won't get ads during Raw. It'll actually be ad free for you, which is pretty wild. So that's interesting. Also, this deal doesn't go into effect until January. So basically, from October is when the USA Network deal ends. From October to January, they technically don't have a home right now that they've announced. Now, could NBC just extend them for a couple more months? I mean, I guess it's possible, but are they willing to spend that money for a show that's going to be leaving? So that'll be interesting to see. And also, if the show stays 3 hours, I mean, it doesn't really need to now. And I think without ad breaks as well, that could be a long 3 hours. So really just crazy stuff. It's 500 million over 500 million per year for 10 years. Netflix has the opportunity to opt out after 5 years. Otherwise, it would after the first 10 years, it extends for another 10. So just a huge money deal. There's other shows as part of this deal outside of the US that will stream on Netflix, other WWE shows. So, again, a huge money deal. The previous deal was 265 million per year for Raw. Now it's 500 for Raw and other stuff internationally, but just a giant increase, of course. SmackDown's 200 and what is it? 265, I believe, is their new deal. You got Peacock, that's over 200 million. So you're basically looking at $1 billion a year almost just in TV rights for WWE.
Wow. So did you say 500 per year?
Yeah.
Per year.
Yeah, it's a $5 billion deal is what they're hyping it as.
So
over 10 years.
I have zillions of questions. Number one, this is huge, obviously, and this is where even as when I was still wrestling, and I'm talking back in 2010, I remember thinking that, and many of us thought that the future for wrestling was going to eventually be on streaming platforms, that we were already headed in that direction, right? Yeah. Especially after WWE, well, I would say well before WWE finally went to their online streaming service. But as wrestlers, I'm saying we always knew this would come and happen. My general question, from a wrestler's perspective, is how, because you can't use ratings anymore as a gauge to say whether you're successful with your craft or not as a character or in the ring performer as a wrestler goes. I wonder what the metrics are going to be for deciding that if you're the company. Two, I'm wondering how, they can't be too replaceable because you're still going to need big stars to be able to pull people and to get more subscriptions, to get this service, to want to see Raw if somebody doesn't have it already, which I'd be surprised they don't have Netflix already. And then lastly, if you're a wrestler yourself and you're a young one and you haven't made it to Raw or SmackDown yet, especially Raw in this case, I know it sounds weird, but do you think it will affect being a quote unquote star? Like walking around the supermarket, I was like, oh my God, aren't you so-and-so from, WWE? Do they lose any of that overall appeal? You know what I mean? Will they go to, how many viewers total does Netflix currently have? Do we know that off,
they have over 280 million subscribers, but that's worldwide.
Yeah. And they talk about streamed minutes. Everything in streaming now, Reacher season 2 streamed 1 billion minutes in the first 2 weeks of release.
So I just recently saw who the character, the actor was playing that character, because I didn't see it. I read the book.
Yeah.
So my point is, does that guy have bigger star appeal being on that show versus being on an NBC weekly show that's seasonal?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, because you read the press and they'd be like, oh, everybody recognizes him everywhere he goes. Now, granted, Matt, when you're a man of size and stature, people look at you everywhere you go. Everyone thinks they've seen you somewhere before, right?
That dude, yes, absolutely. And that dude, especially, he's huge.
Yeah. So, I think here's the interesting thing for the US, because in the UK NXT and PLEs will also be on Netflix, but in the US we're gonna have Netflix on the CW, SmackDown on the USA Network.
You mean NXT on CW?
NXT, yeah, NXT on CW, SmackDown on the USA Network, and then we're gonna have Raw on Netflix. So I still think there will be that profile, and they still have the corporate in with Universal and NBC because of the USA tie. So I think we're going to still see WWE superstars on the Today Show, on USA Network programming. But remember, with Netflix, though, this opens up some additional opportunities. We've already seen WWE had movies on Netflix. There was that Big Show sitcom that history has already forgotten that was on Netflix. But Netflix does have the ability to do cross promotion. Someone I was seeing online being like, oh, next season of Cobra Kai that drops in 25, they're going to be able to do some great stuff with Raw. I do think Netflix does have a big promotion machine, right? But you're right, Matt. It does sort of change the intrinsic value of what does it mean to be a WWE superstar if you're behind a paywall.
Yeah. And to be clear, I think this is an amazing overall. I think it's an amazing move for the company. I want to be crystal clear about that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I hate to say it this way, but it's the truth. At the end of the day, it does come down to dollars and cents. And they just made an entire, I can't even call it a boatload. It is a yacht full. It is, I can't even put it into numbers how insanely big this is.
Yeah. And TKO stock is popping today. Endeavor stocks
at one
up.
point, it was up almost 20%.
Yeah, Netflix up.
So Netflix is available in like 78 million homes, I think, between the US and Canada. So that's more homes than get USA now, because USA has dropped to under 70. I'm not sure exactly where it's at now.
When you say the USA component of that, are you saying availability or actual people with USA?
People with USA.
Well, there's difference availability versus that actually have the channel.
Yeah, they don't. That's how many people get the channel now.
And how many people have Netflix? You said 78.
Yeah, it's close to 80 million.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's huge. This is huge news. And what's it going to mean? Commercial free? Are we going to have wrestling during the breaks?
Yeah.
How are they going to handle this? Right.
I mean, it's kind of what Dynamite does with with their picture-in-picture breaks, where you're still seeing the action. So. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Can I just say something just for general pop purposes? My own gigantic pop I popped for. I was at the gym doing cardio. I don't know when it was, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and AEW was on the screen and I was watching it. And long story short, during their the commercial break, and they do the picture-in-picture. It was Orange Cassidy, and I forget his opponent, but brother, they traded going for a suplex on one another, and then they wiggle their feet back down. Then they go to suplex the other one. They wiggle their feet and they go back down. They kept going back and forth the entire time during commercial break. And I'm elbowing my wife. I'm like, this is hilarious. Everyone backstage is dying laughing. I guarantee it. And people at home probably are not watching the picture-in-picture and picking up on it, but it was the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
Could you imagine during the break, like Grayson Waller goes over, picks up his phone, he's like Googling, like, what should I do next to win this match? I mean, just like the dumb comedy antics, we could have to fill that time.
They completely clowned the fact that they're about to be stuck in a picture during commercial.
Yeah. No, this could be great though. I think this is huge for WWE. I know a lot of people were disappointed by the dollar amount with SmackDown, and by a lot of people I mean Wall Street. The stock got punished and it's just now rebounding.
Say that again.
Well, the WWE stock, because they promised a huge rights fee increase for SmackDown, the stock dropped considerably after the SmackDown deal was announced. I was back up today, but I'm saying during that time period, because stockholders' expectations are so high for things, this news today obviously exceeded them.
Yeah, Nick Khan had said that they expected, like a 50% increase. They ended up getting a 40% increase, which, if you miss, with the stock market, you miss on earnings, even if it's by a really small amount, it affects the stock. So yeah, the stock went down a lot after that.
After SmackDown, but today it's back. We'll see where this ride goes. But the big news, and this would have been the biggest news today otherwise, which is for 2024 and 2025, TKO, the parent company of WWE and UFC, is paying The Rock $30 million to join its board of directors, expanding his role as a global ambassador for the company. Part of this deal, he gets the rights to the name The Rock. And my first thought, given this is a 2024 and 2025 deal, Cody Rhodes is not finishing that story at WrestleMania this year. I think this confirms we're going to have The Rock versus Roman. And it's crazy, right? That they're making this so above the board official. I mean, Matt, this is the biggest payday for a professional wrestler in the history of WWE.
I'll say. I mean, everyone's about to get paid.
Yeah, I mean, not Austin Theory's not going to see much of this money. Let's just be real. But
it's wild that The Rock hasn't owned his name this whole time.
I know.
But
may I ask you a more important question? I'm being very facetious, folks. Does this all but guarantee and give away a spoiler that Rock's going to book himself to win the title against Roman Reigns?
So The Rock was on TV shows this morning, and he did say he thinks him and Roman Reigns would be one of the biggest WrestleMania matches of all time.
It would.
In fact, I am not ruling out now. I think we might see The Rock Saturday night at the Rumble. Not competing in the Rumble, but I think he might show up and advance the story with Roman.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple other things I wanted to, there's a couple of questions in here. Someone was saying Netflix won't be live, or WWE won't be live on Netflix. It will be. And that's kind of a huge deal too, that the first really major live sports deal that Netflix is making. They've done other live streaming events in the past, but as far as a huge money deal for a live streaming thing for a company like Netflix, and the first is WWE, that's a really big deal. Some people are asking if this is good or bad for AEW. I think it's great for AEW because it puts WBD still, in the mix to get them. And if WWE went to WBD, that would have been a really bad blow. And let's see what else. I think those are, as far as what day Raw will air, they haven't said that, and it's kind of interesting that they haven't said that. So I could see them doing a different night. I could see, and to me, SmackDown, it doesn't make sense for them to be on USA on a Friday night. That's like the worst night for them. So
you're right. And for the record, there's no way in hell this is going to be a 3-hour show. This will definitely go back down to 2 hours. There's no reason to keep it at 3 at this point.
Right.
Which is great for the business. It's great for wrestling in general, in my opinion. Well, Matt, that means less people are going to be on, less opportunities on TV. I do think they'll create another show out of this as well, if I'm being honest. I think eventually there'll be something else created from this.
First thing that popped in my mind, guys, Raw Underground. Raw Underground. Here's your chance to have you separate After Dark TVMA. Shane McMahon's just been biding his time, waiting to come back. Netflix is the home for this.
A couple of people are asking if the Peacock stuff will move to Netflix eventually. I mean, that would be a separate deal, but absolutely, why I could see them wanting that. I think a lot of it depends on how successful these first couple of years are. But WWE is still on Peacock for a couple more years.
Okay, I was going to say at the end of that, I think Netflix would be foolish not to buy it.
Oh yeah.
Because now you're creating context for this new show it'd be there for 2 years at this point. Raw would be, but you'd give more context and more outlets for context for your viewers with subscriptions to Netflix to learn more about these stars, which is only going to increase interest in that initial show you purchased and being Raw.
Yeah. But right now, Peacock is paying over 200 million a year for it.
Yeah.
So if Netflix, with an increase, you're looking at maybe 250 million. That's on top of the 500 million they're already paying. That's a lot of money for
chump change for them. For them,
that is true.
I mean, for them and you Raj and Netflix both. That's like $5 for me and you. Zillions of dollars for me and Glenn. $5 for Raj and Netflix.
No, this is great. This is great for the business. Hey, Raj, how are you feeling about selling that wrestling website 2 years ago?
Yeah, what timing, huh? No kidding.
Well, anything else? I know we want to keep this kind of short as it's breaking news. And as we've announced in the comments and on social media, we're going to be doing these quick hits throughout the week. Saturday, we're doing a quick recap of the Rumble. Next week, we're going to go back to doing quick hits throughout the week and then try and do a more podcast style discussion once a week on Sundays for you that like spending time with us and hanging out. But I'm liking this format of just hopping on to do this news as it happens.
Yes. Yeah. And thanks everyone for tuning in, because this really was very last minute. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep. All everyone's talking about today. Anything else before we take it home?
Yeah, Kevin Patrick's done as an announcer. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a change on Fridays.
More commentary changes coming to SmackDown.
Yeah, we will see what happens. Okay, everybody. If nothing else happens with breaking news, we will see you all next Saturday night after the Royal Rumble. Until then, have a great week. He's at BP Matt Morgan. He's at the Raj Giri. I'm at Glenn Rubenstein. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time on Gigantic.